So recently I was swiping through my YouTube Shorts feed and I got recommended this short from Sean Daniel called How to Master Bluegrass Guitar in 1 Minute. Now that title is obviously hyperbole. I'm no stranger to YouTube, I understand the clickbait game. You really can't master anything in 1 minute. But setting that aside, let's see what advice our boy gave that netted him 134,000 views.
Make no mistake, there will come a time in your life when you're line dancing with a beautiful woman, take shots of a mysterious liquid, black out, and wake up in a bluegrass jam. So I'm gonna give you 4 bluegrass tips to help you out in less than a minute. First one, everything is in the key of G. When in doubt, play G major, all right? Second tip, the first fret on your A string is gonna be the best bet. Tip number 3, the second fret on the B string is your second best friend. So we got
Hey, what's up? My name's Marcel. I play bluegrass guitar for a living, so obviously I had some thoughts about this short. And yes, as the commenters have pointed out, his guitar could have been more in tune. But let's take that and let's set it aside as well. First of all, I want to be totally clear that this is not a hit piece. I am not after Sean. Sean is a great guitarist, just not a bluegrass guitarist, and he knows that. He's not going to be offended by anything I have to say here. Also, I'm not against people sharing what they know. That's how I started on YouTube too. I would just take anything I knew about bluegrass and I would share it. So don't rush off to send him hate. Plus he already got roasted about his guitar not being in tune. Let's just go through all the things that Sean says and let's see if we can't fill some holes, maybe give some solid advice, give a few more examples. So his 4 points in order are: number 1, everything is in the key of G. When in doubt, play G major. Number 2, play dirty thirds, play G runs. Number 3, use the flat 5, play some of them hot Tony Rice licks. And number 4, and then he never really gives a 4th tip. I assume that maybe one of those points was supposed to be 2 separate tips. I'm not really sure. But whether I miscounted or he did, I find that very comical because musicians are supposed to be pretty good at counting to 4. So that's embarrassing for one of us. Anyway, I'll provide my own 4th tip when we get there. Let's start at the beginning. Okay, so bluegrass can be played in most keys, but some keys are avoided because they're more difficult for certain instruments to play in. Kind of like how rock musicians prefer keys that don't have flats. It's a similar thing. We have lots of string instruments, so you probably won't see the keys like A flat and D flat. They are more difficult for most mandolinists, fiddle players, banjo players to play in, as well as guitar players. Sean still has a great point though. When you're playing rhythm at a bluegrass jam, you're going to be playing a lot of these standard cowboy chord open shapes because they sound like bluegrass. So you will have to play in keys like G, C, and D all the time. And if you have to play in another key, you'll probably capo up so you can maintain that same chord shape. So for instance, if I had to play a bluegrass song in the key of A, I'd likely capo up to 2nd fret and then use my G chord shapes. I have a great video all about this concept called How Bluegrass Guitarists Use Capos. I also talk about how we call chords, what are common chord progressions, all that kind of stuff. Check it out if you're interested in more info on that. Remember that using a capo isn't really about cheating at all. It's not that we're avoiding difficult chord shapes. It's about the open chords sounding more like bluegrass. So if we want to play bluegrass, we have to use the capo to preserve the sound of those chords. Does that make sense? Next, Sean teaches us about dirty thirds, and he uses that concept to teach us a G run, probably the most famous bluegrass lick, and that looks like this.
Second tip, the first fret on your A string is going to be the best bet.
Now he's kind of showing a G run variation here. It's not wrong per se, but I'd rather start folks with like the classic G run, like the stock version, and that sounds like this. Now the most common use of this lick is to end sections of a vocal tune. So your verse is ending, your chorus is ending, your guitar solo is ending. You probably don't want to play the same G run every time though. There's lots of ways you can vary your G run. At its heart, this lick is 1 measure long, it starts on a G and it ends on a G. So any of these licks flashing by right now would make a solid G run. Sorry, I couldn't help myself. We're talking about shorts, so I thought, why not make a quick short, you know? So rewinding for a second, before he taught us the G run, he talked about dirty thirds. Now I want to explain that to you, so get ready for this like kindergarten level music theory lesson. So we're in the key of G major because
everything is in the key of G.
So let's do our musical alphabet starting on G. G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G again. That's our G major scale. Going back to the beginning, we have G, A, B, or 1, 2, 3. B is the third note. So our dirty third, or a flat third, our minor third, is going to be this note in between, which happens to be B flat. Now, what I like to call the dirty third is this ambiguous sound that you get from mixing the two thirds together. You're really not sure if you're hearing more of a major sound or a minor sound. You might hear this. It's got a bunch of B and B flat. You will notice that our classic G run has a B flat and a B in it, or a dirty third in it. By the way, you can also do that up the octave. Sean does it later. So Sean teaches us this lick. And this is really similar to the classic Tony Rice hot style licks. Like this one. Hey folks, today I want to talk to you about how to create these very specific, hot, bluesy licks that you probably associate with bluegrass guitar players like Tony Rice. This is a clip from my video called How to Improvise Hot Style Licks. Sean doesn't play a great lick here, but he's really close to the system, which is more important. These licks are almost always minor pentatonic stuff, the flat 5 chromatic passage, and then the dirty third up the octave like I just pointed out. Here's some more examples from my lesson. Which takes me to tip number 4. 1, 2, 3. It's a lot of tips. A tip I will offer up myself, you could say. When you're playing backup or rhythm for someone else at the jam, please play bluegrass rhythm patterns. Here's the thing, guitar breaks, bluegrass guitar breaks, that's the bluegrass word for solos, if I didn't say that already, that's what a break is, are optional. You don't have to accept the invitation to play lead, so you might not need the hot lick stuff. And quite frankly, even the G runs are kind of optional. There's normally 10 other guitar players that are all hitting the G runs in unison. They won't miss you not hitting the G run. What will be a problem is your rhythm patterns. That's not optional. I speak from experience when I say that bad bluegrass rhythm playing is way more of a sin at the bluegrass jam than bad lead playing. You can go to a jam any night of the week and find some people playing some bad leads, but everyone's playing a pretty good rhythm. So here's what you need. You need a solid boom chuck. So we're gonna alternate between the root and the 5th of the chord for the G chord, since
everything is in the key of G.
That would be a low G note and your open D string. And then for the chuck, we're gonna strum the higher part of the chord. Think about like your top 3 or 4 strings. You alternate back and forth. That's bluegrass rhythm. This is all downstrokes. You don't have to make it fancy. At its simplest level, you probably don't even want to put in any upstrokes. There's also no palm muting, none of this. See people trying to pretend to be a mandolin and get this really short cut-off sound. Just play the boom chuck, I promise. Okay, so maybe we didn't master bluegrass guitar in 1 minute, but like I said, you can't master anything in a minute. If you want more bluegrass guitar lessons, you can check out the rest of my channel. Big thanks to Sean Daniel for the free content from my channel, I guess. Thanks, dude. Go give him a sub. Have a good day. I'll see you all later.
First one, everything is in the key of G. When in doubt, play G major.